Today I'm going to be talking about Eric Cooke, also known as the Night Caller, and he's also known as the Neverland Monster. He was born in February of 1931, and he was born with a condition with his lip where it makes your lip stick out more. I think it's called a cleft lip, and he had had two surgeries, but neither one of the surgeries really helped. He had some speech trouble because of it. And his father was very abusive. His father would take his anger out on him and his mom. He was the oldest boy. The mom, she didn't really like coming home, so she would sometimes just stay all night out of work to not have to deal with it. So Eric, as he got a little bit older, he would start leaving the house at night and getting into trouble. He would take women's underwear. He was a peeping Tom. And he would steal stuff. When he got a little bit older, like around the age of 19, he met his girlfriend. He would marry her and they would have 7 kids together. But at night, he would start leaving the house a lot. And this is where he would start stealing cars. And he would run over people with the cars. He would literally steal a car just to run over somebody. And then he would normally take the car back. He would break into homes, and normally with men he would use a gun. But with women he would use different methods. He would use a hammer, or he would use an axe. He used a lamp cord on one of the young women. And sometimes he would just use his hand. But he always had different methods. And when all this was going on, his wife had no clue of what he was getting into. But throughout his life as a child, even up to an adult, he would get hurt a lot. Like, a lot. And when he was a kid, he had a head injury, which with serial killers, a lot of them have a frontal lobe damage. So it's not unheard of for a serial killer to have a head injury, and especially when it deals with the frontal lobe. But with him, like I said, throughout his life, he would constantly get hurt. He would get caught because when he killed 18-year-old Shirley, he used a gun. And he put the gun in the bushes, but the police had found it. And they were waiting on him because they thought he was going to come back. And he did, 17 days later. They waited for 17 days for him to come back for that gun. But he finally did. And this is where he would be caught. He would confess. And in 1964, when they were getting ready to hang him, he confessed. He wanted to confess to these 2 murders that he had done that other 2 men had taken the fall for. One was he ran over a 17-year-old girl, and her 19-year-old boyfriend had taken the fall for it because they thought he did it. But it was Eric. And another one, he was deaf and mute, and they pinned one of the murders on him. But that one wasn't him either. Eric had done both, and he confessed when it was close to time to die, because I guess maybe finally he wanted to do something right and help the 2 men out. And like I said, he had 7 children. But it is said he was only really good to 2 of them. So some he was really abusive to, and some of his children he was more kind to. But in 1964, he would end up being hung. So that is the story of Eric Cooke. Thank you guys so much for watching.